Hello, hello, everyone. Just testing sound. Let me know if you guys can hear me. Let me know if you're doing okay, if you're taking care of yourselves, if you're staying safe, healthy, all that good stuff. I prepared some notes for this evening, and then I started obsessing with it. And then I started writing scripts, and then I started obsessing about the script. And then I said, you know what? I can refer to the notes if I need to, because I am forgetful. And I think my anxiety is about that, because I don't want to forget what I want to say. But this isn't about notes. It's just about having a conversation about this cursed case. But before we do that, before we do that, I just have an update on our Frederick Files. So we are currently at $875, and that's 35% of the goal. I'm so excited. Like, I can't believe that this is happening. And with regards to these files, I also wanted to, just for the record, say that there's this thing called informed consent, right? And my video titled Frederick Files is something that you should probably watch before you decide whether or not this is something that you want to donate towards. There are specific files that we are looking for. And as I've said a million times, I've reached out to different agencies, and I've also included a copy of my entire correspondence with Amanda Purcell from the Frederick Police Department that you can read. And the informed part of the consent is that, no, she didn't specifically say, yes, that file is in there, because they can't specify for each file that you want. I mean, that would be unreasonable of us to expect. Oh, thank you, Faraway Eyes. Thank you so much. So, so it's understandable that they're not going to itemize. It's not a store. So that is also attached. But my interpretation, the way that I'm reading her words, in my opinion, I believe that there will be files in the complete file of Frederick Police Department, because I'll get into the reasons why, but because one main reason is because they were the investigating agency for this case. So the informed consent part, like I said, is if you care, or if you feel like that's worth the risk to try to get those files, you at least that that's the risk that you take. If you think it's complete BS and that it's just a waste of money and time, then based on the information from the informed consent, you can make that decision and not donate and not be a part of it. So it's totally up to you. So that's one thing that I definitely wanted to address. The second thing that I wanted to address is sometimes I feel like sometimes I forget that people can't read my mind. And my sister, she can testify to that, because sometimes it takes her a while to interpret what I'm trying to say, and it takes me. Sometimes she's my interpreter. If we're out somewhere and I say something and it's not coming out the way that I mean it, she jumps in and like helps me out sometimes. So again, sometimes I assume that people can read my mind. So I wanted to touch a little bit more on that because I think it's important so that we can all understand what my expectations are and what my standards are for researching this case. So we're obviously not detectives. We're obviously not law enforcement. We're doing this as a hobby. And now what purpose does it serve? So for me, true crime has always been a passion. I love watching trials, cases. You all already know that. So for me, this is just another case that I'm investigating. And this happens to be a case where there's a million rabbit holes to go down. And there's a chance to get the entire file because it hasn't gone to trial and the case is closed and yada, yada, yada. All of that we know. So that is what I'm doing. And so my purpose is to investigate the case. And because I'm not an investigator, the closest thing to that I have is what I understand to be research and what I understand to be like a scientific method, basically. And the way that I think about it is multi-layered. So this is where my notes come in because I have no idea how to explain it. And this is where I can keep it to the minimum. Yes. All right. So I'll start with this. Science. So I've done several research studies, and as part of my education, I've written many papers, research papers. I wrote a dissertation that entails research and peer review and the entire process. So I know how rigorous it is and what a pain in the butt it is to be so strict. And the reason why it's that strict is because in science, we share this value that when I read a research paper or a hypothesis or whatever, I want to be able to rely on that because I don't want to have to go back and research everything that someone's already done and put their work into, because it would be a waste of time. And that's why there is a standard that you follow. And obviously, again, like this is a hobby, like I'm not doing science. I'm just letting you know what my principles are and what I consider to be a plausible theory or, evidence or not plausible, whatever. So I want to be able to know when someone gives me their research, I want to be able to know that their standards of how they do research is at least close to my standards. And that means that, well, my standards include the peer review part, where this is where discussion comes into place. We can talk about theories and I can present to you my idea and my theory, and I can show you how I came to that conclusion. And you, as my peer, another YouTube true crime follower, that's all we are, you can say, no, that's BS, it doesn't work because here's how. So anytime I try to think of a theory, the first thing that I do is try to prove it wrong or right, if that makes sense. So for example, if I want to say that he had an accomplice and it was NK, First, I want to prove that she wasn't an accomplice. And based on what we have in the evidence and the inconsistencies and everything like that, I'm not comfortable with relying on whatever, my assumptions or my biases, that someone has checked it out already. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about this. No, that's too vague for me. That doesn't meet my standard. And I'm just a member of the public. Who am I? No one. I'm not a family member. I'm not anyone to this case. I'm just a member of the public. And as such, I have a right to question the justice system. And if I can present a case that is utilizing the highest standards or high standards, the highest for someone, for me, for an internet sleuth, whatever, the better case we're going to make for whatever we're trying to argue. So that's one thing. To me, it doesn't matter what you believe and what your theory is. We all have the same goal. If we want to have, well, we might not have the same goals, but here's what I mean. If you want to have the case reopened, reinvestigated, re-looked into, whatever, the only way you can go about it is literally, like, NK would have to confess. And I know that she's not going to do that because she's presumed innocent at this point. They stopped investigating. But let's say that there was something, and there was something where the public can be like, hey, what about this? And it's black and white on paper, not based on our opinion, but something that is beyond reasonable doubt as defined by the law. You know? I don't know. I might be exaggerating, and that's okay too, but that's just how my mind works. So when I evaluate the evidence that I look at, I know that I'm going to put it through rigorous whatever testing. And even if I come out with it, there's still going to be people who are going to say, well, what about this? What about that? So anytime I try to think of a theory, I think about it from a perspective of sitting in a witness stand, on the witness stand, being cross-examined. And I imagine Juan Martinez cross-examining me. So it's like, I want to have proof no matter what angle they come at me. And that's how I look at it. So I can't say just because NK's phone bill shows that she pinged in Frederick the morning of the murders, I can't say that's enough to say that she's involved. No, that's not enough. We might think that it's everything, but that phone bill alone is not enough, because you can argue it. You can say, well, she was driving to work. That's going to be the first one. And what are you going to say? No, she wasn't, because it makes sense, because, well, no, that's the argument. It could be that she was in the house, but it also could be that she was driving. But if you have 2 or 3 more records, like the phone tower records and the phone location records, those are now 2 separate pieces of evidence that are corroborating the first piece of evidence. Now that's different, because now you can narrow it down even further, and you can say, well, no, according to the phone coordinates, she was at 2825 Saratoga Trail, versus, that throws the question, maybe she was just driving to work out of the window type of thing, right? So That's how I look at it. And I don't, how do I want to say this? I don't want to be seen as someone who wants to hoard Watts trivia, you know? In this in this instance, like, my personal interest in this is answering the question, was anyone else involved? I'm not saying that Chris is innocent at all. And let there not be any confusion about that. Because again, applying the same standards that I just told you about legally on paper, because that's all we can go on. I can't make a YouTube video and play it for Rourke and expect for everything to be fixed and the case to be reopened. That's not how it works, right? So if you want to be convincing at all, no matter what point you're trying to argue, you arm yourself with the facts. And the facts are not rhetorical questions, because there's plenty of those. There's plenty of those. I'm not interested in more questions either. And that's where the true crime hobby passion comes in. Because if you follow true crime for any amount of time, you will know that there are trials out there from day one until the very last day on YouTube. There's books written about it. And when you come across some questionable information or questionable things in a new case, for me at least, the way that I look at it is, oh, I remember that one case that I watched from a couple of years ago, and they had this expert on there, and they talked a lot about this. So let me just go refresh my memory. Because you have hours upon hours upon hours upon hours of expert witness testimony, court testimony on YouTube available to you. So if you wonder why Shanann's blood alcohol level was so high, you can look at a crime case that was in trial where the medical examiner testified about blood alcohol levels in the body or levels of anything in the body. So for me, for example, if you want to look at what would a circumstantial case trial look like, and when I listen to it again, I don't listen to it for the purpose of listening to it for that particular case, but I'm more so listening to what the law says and what the attorneys are arguing for, and so on and so forth. So if you want to learn about personality disorders or amnesia or PTSD or traumatic memory loss, the state of Arizona versus Jodi Arias is your case to go. And you can listen to the entire cross-examination of whatever that old guy's name was. Samuels, Dr. Samuels. And he goes step by step through what a traumatic memory loss is. And he step by step destroys him on the stand. And then if you look at Dr. DeMarte's testimony, you'll see the difference between being prepared to be cross-examined versus not being prepared. So that's one thing. And then if you're looking to get Chris out of jail because you think that he's innocent, hey, that's cool with me. You can have your own theory. You can test your own theory. You can do whatever you want. But the way that we get there, or that you would get there, is with an appeal. And now the problem with that is we can be convinced that Chris is innocent, but Chris himself, I don't think, is convinced. And that's the problem. So when you want to go to bat for a cause, for a passion, for something, you know, just think about what it is that you're arguing and how you're going to get there, and if it's realistic. You know, I'm all about being a rebel. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Dana. Thank you so much. Yeah. I'm all about being united in that goal, whatever it is, whether it's to reopen the case or ask for a trial. Either way, we have a limited amount of what do you call them? Resources available to us in terms of how we can go about it. Because like I said, we can't magically, I don't know, make Rourke do something, right? I'm just looking at chat for a little bit. Right, true crime, truth seeker. Yeah, and that's another thing too. You know, I think when people ask for autopsy pictures and things like that, you know, it's, of course, it's morbid, but that's part of it. You know, my sister, I keep bragging about her, but she's an excellent researcher. And I trust her because I know that she has high standards for her research. So I know that when she tells me something, I know I don't have to reinvestigate just to make sure that it's fact. And so she wasn't too involved with the case. She's been doing her own thing. And recently we've been talking and she started doing some research. And she asked me a question that just left me dumbfounded. And I think that's exactly what was missing. It was that open mind and that perspective of just someone coming in, looking at the evidence and trying to see what makes sense. And she told me, if you want to learn, if you want to know the story of what happened, you look at the autopsy. And that's where she started. And so we went back to it and we compared notes, and we were very similar in our notes. They were matching. And she did a lot of research on the West Memphis 3 case. I don't know if you guys have heard about it. It's those 3 little boys that drowned. They were sodomized and it was ridiculous. And 3 teenagers were in prison. Well, one of them was on death row and they were locked up for 18 years. They were innocent and they were in there just based on a false confession. And that case has so much information out there in the public domain. It has different expert witnesses who have written books about questions such as, why is there sludge in someone's stomach if they were already dead and didn't die of drowning? Thank you, Heather, whatever, blah, I can't talk. Thank you, Heather. Thank you so much. You know, so that's, yeah, because when she asked me, wait, when she said Bella was alive, and I'm like, no. And we started talking about it, and I was like, wait a minute. So anyways, so yeah, research, that's what I'm trying to say, is research. Test your theories. there's always a case out there that has already had the conundrum that you're having. And that's what research is about. And I think sometimes we get stuck with reading the discovery over and over again, and that's fine, because anytime that you can pick up something new, you know, that's good. But there's also those people who don't go outside of the discovery at all, like cross-referencing. For example, there was another case that I'm going to talk about. Oh, I have so much to talk about. I can't even like organize my thoughts. Let me take a break and hear from you guys. Do you guys hear me? Do you guys understand what I'm trying to say? Right, Jamie. And you see, that's the thing. People, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like we have to be married to a certain theory and we can't change our minds, right? And that's not the point of research. Like, that's not the point of research. And there's not one particular person that's the authority in the Watts case. There's no Watts police on social media. Well, they like to think they are, but they're not. Like, there's not one keeper of the discovery files. There's not one keeper of the secret, you know. This is not like Lord of the Rings or whatever. You know what I mean? So I always get confused when people take it so personal, and it's not. This is why I put my stuff out there, because that's the process of that review. If you guys see that I'm using the evidence and how I'm using it and how I'm interpreting it, and you're saying, yeah, that makes sense, you know, I take in the feedback. But if you say, well, what about this? You know, I'll take that feedback in and apply it, because I'm not the authority on the case, you know? And so when someone asks me, I always get emails and messages from you guys and comments that I really appreciate, with different theories, with different screenshots and different ideas. And they're just so awesome and amazing. And some of the details that you guys pick up on always just blows my mind. But I don't reject it because I don't agree with it. You know, it's something discussion worthy. It's something to talk about. So here, let me, again, we all have biases, right? So when you try to present something as a fact versus your opinion, that's really, it needs to be a fact, because a fact can't be manipulated. It is what it is. And sometimes you can pick out a fact, cherry pick it, and say, well, this is a fact, so it proves, and then you throw out a theory. Well, okay, based on what? Just that fact alone? What did you do to test it? You know what I mean? So there's stuff everywhere online. These are some ways that you can test for that. For example, the debiasing techniques, like I told you, I think about what would I be asked if I was cross-examined. That's how it's kind of like the devil's advocate kind of thing. That's what I use. I actually like this meme, which is the only reason why I put it in there, which is actually true. I was actually thinking about this, the whole online troll stuff. And if you watch how they work and how they put their theories together, Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking about that. All right, so let me just, so here we go. This is how my mind tries to categorize things. Okay, so you have theories, and a theory is something that you can test over and over, right? And so that, for me, that's where you can recreate or reconstruct the crime scene. And that's what I'm doing. Like I'm putting it to the test, basically. Kind of like Kathleen Zellner does in Making a Murderer 2. You know what I mean? So this is something that will hold up in court. So if you believe his first confession, his second confession, no confession, if the Illuminati were behind it, if Dieter did it, doesn't matter. Because we all have one goal, and that's to get this looked at. You know? Speculation. That's the discussion part where we can talk about, well, maybe he did this, maybe he did that. What was his mattress number? Like, that's all speculation. And there's a difference between having an informed guess or an educated guess versus a personal investment in the fact. If you have a personal investment in one particular theory being true, you're doomed. Zellner is amazing. And then what I call conspiracies is everything else. And I'm open to all of it. I love listening to them. I love the tarot readings, the different dates that correspond to different rituals and all that stuff. That's all fascinating to me. And I'll listen to it every single day. But it doesn't meet my personal threshold for me to buy into it. It's just an interesting topic to discuss. It's a possibility, but it's not likely, right? So that's kind of how I categorize it. And therefore, I'm never going to bash anyone who has any sort of conspiracy. And that's where we have different cliques and different camps. That's where we have, you know, he didn't do it, he did it, the WASP did it, you know, that's where all of the different opinions come from. And then people disagree because they put the conspiracy to a standard of truth where you can't just categorize it as something to talk about. If you're interested, if you're not, you don't have to. So I don't personally get offended when someone says, what if his first confession was true? I don't get offended because guess what? That's something that he said. And so by him saying it, in an investigation, you have to prove that it's not possible. That's why they went back to talk to all of the witnesses about Shanann's alcohol consumption, because they assumed that the defense is gonna mention, well, what about this blood alcohol level? Was she a drinker? They would find every picture of her with an alcoholic beverage. They would put it out there. You know, you think that Miss Menza is cruel to Shanann. If this case went to trial, every single person involved in this case would have been dragged through the mud. So don't get that twisted. So that's another thing. Why did he take a plea deal? Why did he take a plea deal? That's something that I considered. He probably didn't want that. You know? So that's all I'm saying. And right now, let me see what else I have. I don't know why I sounded like super nasal right now. Right now. Yes. Here's, please. I almost forgot. Frederick Police Department is the lead investigating agency for this case. It is their jurisdiction. That's who responded to the 911 call. Therefore, it's their case. All of these people, CBI, FBI, all of them, well, these are assisting agency, and these are county. They're supposed to be, or state representatives of us, the public, for public interest. And the parentheses that you see are the case numbers for each respective agency that assisted in this case. And if you go and do a records request for each individual agency, you will get public records from each individual agency. And before you ask me, well, why don't we do that? We did. And if you think that anyone is going to be arrested for the jailhouse phone calls, or if you think that they're somehow illegally obtained, those can be requested from the Weld County Sheriff's Office. And you can request them anytime. And none of these agencies sell these records. So you can't buy these records. You're not buying the records. A lot of these agencies are charging fees, though. Fees that are related to searching for the files, copying the files, shipping the files, putting them together, redacting the files, whatever else. Rather than thinking of it as you're paying for the files, you're paying for the work that someone's doing to get those files for you. So no, the jail calls are not illegal. Are they a privacy invasion for the Watts family? Ethically, yes. Those phone calls are very difficult to listen to. Like, it was difficult for me to keep it together. So yes, it's wrong in a sense that this is so intimate and it's intrusive for us to listen to it. But is it legally in any way wrong or whatever? No. Legally, it's not. Morally, that's up to whoever to decide. Also, oh, Saint Funny, we're at 35%, right? Yeah, 35%. So we're at $875. Oh, well, and that's going to hopefully jump because it is the end of the month. So Patreon typically sends their check, and Teespring. So hopefully I'll be adding that. No, Stephanie, so here's the thing. with in terms of permission, like I said, those tapes were obtained legally. And technically, again, legally, I'm talking legally, he doesn't even have to ask for permission because he obtained them legally and they're public records. So they're in the public domain. He didn't get it because he has a connection or he's special or anything. No, they got it because they requested them, and anyone can do that. Anyone. And so legally, he wasn't even obligated to ask them for permission. My understanding is that they did speak with someone and that there was an understanding that the tapes were going to be played. So I think that was out of courtesy. So, but yeah. And I think also I don't want to answer for other people. That was my understanding of it. So I'm not speaking for anyone. If you ask AD, I'm sure he'll explain it again. Because I am slow also sometimes. Let's see. I don't know. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Just look at my so-called notes. Of course, I'm probably forgetting a million things, which, surprise, surprise. So, any questions? And also, another thing too that I want to eventually accomplish is there's so many things that I have open right now that I want to look into in terms of the case. And a lot of the more pressing ones obviously are going to have to wait for the files until we get the files. Oh, thank you, Saint Funny. Thank you. Yeah, so we're going to have to wait for those. But there's so many other things that when you research something, or for me at least, when I research something, it's not just like, I don't know, like sitting on the toilet on my iPhone, you know? Research for me, like, it takes a long time, weeks on end. And so that's why sometimes, you know, when I get these amazing theories that I'm always like, oh, I need to look into that. I need to look into that. Well, my list, now I'm like losing my accent too. Now my list is getting longer and longer, but the time for it is getting shorter and shorter. So eventually I want to be able to, you know, have like a place where we can all discuss the research among each other without getting offended by it, if that makes sense. Like if you're interested in research, and if there's something that you're good at, which we all have something, we all are good at something. You know, I got a message from someone a couple of weeks ago, you know, and she said that one of her family members works at like a really important organization, IT organization. And she said, you know, if you need any help with the DOS attack stuff or whatever, you know, he loves answering questions from you know, the true crime people and stuff like that. And so I'll take his word over, you know, whatever. Anyways, Yes, AB, I was thinking about like a Discord. We've been trying to set one up for us, like in our mod group or whatever, to be able to talk about the case, but we never get around to it. But seriously, like I'm gonna try to think of a way to do that. Like I already put all of my stuff, well, most of it anyways, on Google Drive, and I can make that available to anyone. Because again, like I'm not hoarding any secrets, that's not the point. Um, but I keep all of my stuff already on Google Drive, and so maybe we can have like a central place where we can put everything. Hmm. Okay. Yeah, Discord is something new. It seems out of like too out there for me because I'm not familiar with it, but I'm sure that it can't be that complicated. Yeah, we can have like discussions, and it's not broadcasted, it's just, well, I guess it can be. I don't know. I'm sure it can because I've seen other creators, but oh, 1 second. I'll put my email up. Yeah, and if you are seriously like interested in like doing research for this purpose, then yeah, shoot me an email, let me know what it is that you're interested in researching. Um, and yeah. Yeah, Teresa, like I said, I think it would work because we all have the same goal, in my opinion. Um, oh, this is another diagram or whatever this is that I made, because the different phases also mean different things, and in terms of like records, where you get them and at what point can you find them in the discovery that we have versus. So I think anything um, post sentencing wouldn't be in the discovery that we have. So, i.e., the phone calls. Yes, proton mail. I got to keep it down low. And then, what was there something else? Oh, yeah, research again. um, what I also use, and that's thanks to Scott Reich, because this is totally his idea. I actually foolishly emailed him and asked him if he wanted to defend NK in my mock trial. I never heard back from him, but I think I was trying to take a shortcut, and I was trying to get him to just save me all the work of doing the research myself. So I just wanted him to just do it for me. So, but I did go back and I listened to all of his stuff, and basically, he's right. And he gave me the idea of looking at jury instructions, and it's literally like a layman's guide to legal interpretations, legal definitions, what something means, an accomplice versus um, party to a crime, I don't know, like versus aiding, whatever. So I think it's helpful. So that's what I learned from Scott. Definitely, he read it straight from the jury instructions when he was talking about what would need to happen for NK to be indicted, investigated, charged, whatever. You know, there has to be a crime, first of all, and he went through the jury instructions, and yeah, like short of her saying, yes, I did it, and this is what happened, there's literally nothing other than what we are doing now is finding evidence that can withstand the whatever. I can't think of can't think of words right now. But that would basically meet the criteria for it to be considered as reasonable. Y'all know what I mean. So that's where I am coming from. And so one more thing. Oh, why did it go away? When I talk with other people, other creators, other whatevers, you know, that's what I want you to think of. Like, I want you to just really think about these three things. So if I'm talking with someone, if I'm interested in talking with someone, I'm always interested to listening, you know, I'm listening. It's just, it goes into, we can talk about it. Let's talk about it. It can be a conspiracy. Let's talk about it too. You know, it's not off limits. And that doesn't mean that I am going to 100% subscribe like to your way of thinking and not have my own independent thought. It doesn't mean that at all. It just means I value and respect your opinion, and I value and respect your view and theory and conspiracy and everything. And let's talk about it, because listening to that, I make sure that I do keep an open mind, because if I start dismissing things as being impossible or not worth listening to, you know, that's all right. I'm looking at chat now. Yeah, there are definitely a lot of questions, and that's what I'm saying. Like, that's where all of us are unique in that sense. Like, we can have our own ideas and understandings. What actually happened that night, right now, only one person knows that we know of. And that person at this point is useless. So you know, and that's it. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Betty. South Wales. It's late there, isn't it? So yeah, and also too, just another point I want to make about different creators and different ideas and theories. Again, I don't ever. I will admit that I do listen to Miss Menza, because I think her research is good. Like, she does very detailed research, and I think she's very convinced in her theory, to the point where it's almost a little bit too extreme for me, because based on the evidence and based on the questions that were posed and some of the questions that are just floating around, that would be one thing that would have been addressed in trial for sure. It would have been the question of, could Shanann have hurt the girls? And the next thing that would come up, because Nutgate was such a big thing, based on my opinion, I think that one thing that would have came up would have been the allergies. And the next thing, you know, if the fence is really slimy, think Casey Anthony. they would have gone for Munchausen by proxy. And I've also followed the Gypsy Rose case and Nicholas Godejohn. That's yeah, I don't know. They did a show about it, I think, The Act or whatever. That's a fascinating case, and it is one of those textbook examples of Munchausen by proxy, which is now called factitious disorder imposed on another. And that's a good case to reference if you want to learn about that. And so, was there some questionable stuff in terms of like illnesses? Were there some things that maybe Shanann does fit the criteria, Sure. But in my opinion, there's not enough there's not nearly enough to with 100% certainty say, yes, that she did have Munchausen by proxy. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jade. Thank you so much. And yes, Barbara, I agree. I don't know that the interview helped Cindy. But it depends. Again, it depends on what the goal was, what they wanted to accomplish. Yeah, because if Cindy is trying to accomplish like public sympathy or whatever you want to label it or call it or think about it, then I'm sure she would know better, or someone would have advised her better than to go on Miss Menza's channel. And again, I'm not saying that because I have any personal opinion. I don't know Miss Menza, and I think, yeah, I value her opinion. I think her research meets my standards. So she's very detail oriented, and I appreciate that. So, but would I feel comfortable saying that? No, because one thing for sure that we would need in order to be able to prove that is their medical records, their entire medical history, which we don't even have anything, let alone, So I don't think at this point, that would be something that would go under either speculation or, it needs further testing. It's right now on hold in the background. Yeah, there was a very rigid, so there was obviously something that can be considered extreme in terms of some of the ways that, some of the ways that the routines were. It was very OCD like, and that's very, if you've ever been around someone who has like OCD type, God, I can't think, like features, they just have this like anxious energy around them. I feel like I'm always like tense, always like I'm gonna do something wrong. And I think that's a lot of what they're projecting, is this fear of doing something wrong. So Ruth is asking, was Shanann a stay-at-home mom? Now with this whole COVID situation, I think we can all have a different appreciation for, okay, my nephew's around making noise. We can all appreciate working from home and being stay at home, whatever, remote working, remote momming, those of you who are mothers became teachers and everything. So I think she was a stay-at-home mom in the sense that she stayed at home and she was a mom, but she also worked from home. And so I think there weren't, like, maybe the boundaries weren't as clear in terms of her time in between home time versus work time, right? So she was just kind of doing everything at once, which I'm not saying is wrong. She was multitasking, which I could never do because I can't even do one simple task sometimes or put one sentence together. Yeah, and that's another thing. The reason why I put that on the back burner for now, for me personally, if others have an interest, like I said, I have a list that's long, and that's one of the things on my list is to explore all of those topics further. But right now I'm doing like a process of elimination of what would be the easiest stuff to prove. And right now I think what I'm focused on is the night of the murder or the morning of the murder, like the crime scene or crime scenes. So I want the GPS, the steps, the phone calls, the text messages, everything, because that's crucial because we need to know where the crime scene was, in my opinion. So that's my focus, my personal focus. But I think eventually when I get stuck, I wander off into different rabbit holes. And so that's one of them. And if that's your interest, go for it, and let us know. Let us know what you find. Because yeah, that's definitely something that, and I also feel like I wouldn't be appropriate to give an opinion on that per se, because I'm not a mother and I really can't evaluate those baby wise things. Like, I can look at, oh, thank you, Rochelle. Thank you so much. I can look at like Wikipedia stuff on it, but really to know what it's like to have a child and if a rigorous schedule like that sounds reasonable, I can't evaluate that. So I would have to like do a survey or something to get you moms to tell me what the public opinion is. And so yeah, so that's like way too much work. Allie, excuse me, Allie, I think they have a interstate corrections compact deal where certain states trade inmates for different reasons. So in this case, it was because it was a high profile case and it was for Chris's safety, but also the safety of other inmates and the institution. So yeah, exactly. And then there's that part too, Stephanie. It depends on the individual child as well. So thank you again, Rochelle. That's so nice. Megan, do you want to come on live? Janet Williams asked, do you think she was alive when she left the house? If who was alive, I'm sorry. Yeah, no question, Ezra. He definitely should have spoken up. Yeah, Shanann and Chris's communication sucked. And that's a pretty judgy thing of me to say, but hey, I'm sure we'll all survive. We all have biases, whether we like to admit them or not. We have implicit and explicit. And so if you would like to research that more. So I make fun of my biases. That way I know I'm aware of it. So that's where the empanada comes in. That's where the mattresses come in. that's where all that other stuff comes in, is me checking my biases, but still keeping it real on the research front. Why did I wander off? What was the question? God, I suck. I have no idea why I started that. I agree, peace, love, and lies. There is this whole thing, this whole aura around the multi-level marketing companies that's also very like Stepford wifey, if you know what I mean. It's kind of scary. Yeah, it's possible. Allie is saying there are major, in her opinion, connections with Wisconsin and NK and her close pals. It's possible because what do we have on that? We have Jim, and we know that he went to college in Wisconsin. We know that he's from Wisconsin. So, yeah, her best friend is from Wisconsin. So, yes, that's one tie already. And then the other thing that I would want to find out more, which I think if we can establish an alibi for her, would be the next thing that's taken care of, is who was the man with the backpack that was chunkier and had a beard? And was he at the sand dunes with them at the same time? Right? And then even if we prove that he was there at the sand dunes with, even if we prove that they went out for dinner with them, that doesn't mean that Jim was involved in any way. It would just further prove that we need a mattress change. Yes. Ann Williams, that's another huge issue for me that I have, which is up front. It is one of the things that I'm going to be definitely working on, is reconstructing that, because nothing makes sense in terms of that whole part of it. Her being on the floorboard, it doesn't make any sense because there's literally no room. And then, so my speculation would be that I would want to test is he didn't put her between the seats because she wouldn't have fit. And at one point in the inmate security footage, you see him putting something in the passenger side, and then you see him walking around, you can tell by the lights, and you see him opening the passengers. He put something in the driver's side. He opens the passenger side door and goes in and is adjusting something, whatever. I'm assuming he's pulling something from the other side. And so how he would manage to put her behind the seats and on the floorboard is beyond me. I think it's beyond possibility too. So that opens up the question for me: was she in a seated position, maybe in the front seat, or did he put her, on the floor or whatever? Which then would make that picture that he took of his laptop in the truck that much more important, because does that picture show the passenger seat? And if it does, was it empty? What can we see? Because according to my timeline, when he was when he took that pictures, girls were still alive and in the truck. So that's pretty ballsy, if you ask me. Or one girl at least was alive, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, Megan wants, yes. Okay. Okay, let me figure this out. Woohoo, I'm getting excited. Oh, okay. Let's see. One second. I'm just trying to figure out how to get you the link. I'll just put it in chat. And Megan, the link is for you. So if anyone else jumps on and I don't recognize you, I'm not ready for it. That's possible too. That's what I'm saying. Scarlet Lady said maybe the girls weren't in the truck and Shannon was laying on the back seat. You know, that's possible, and that's the thing. Like, we don't know. There's not anything that we can say other than Chris's word, because there's nothing else. Like, there's no results, no DNA results from, or the fingerprint results. Like, there's none of that. We don't know. We simply don't know. So anything at this point is possible. Freaking, I don't know. Janet Jackson could have teleported herself in there, for all I know. Thank you, Maxine. Did Megan see the link? Oh, my cigarette went out because I'm talking too much. Oh, yeah, Megan. One second. I know I'm forgetting something, and it's getting on my nerves, but that's the gist. That's the gist of it. I'm in my email now, so I can't see chat. I'm just trying to figure this out. Okay, Megan, I sent the email. Let me know if you got it. Yeah. Yeah, Firestarter. We do have the discovery files and videos to watch and listen to, absolutely. But they are not going to tell us how he got Shanann into the truck. Because if you look at the picture of the back of that truck, and if you listen to how he said he did it, it does not, like, it doesn't compute. And that's another thing. Dana is asking, do I think Shanann was still alive? That's another thing too that we don't know. It's one of those questions that we can speculate and theorize on, and that's another thing that I would be interested in, is to, like, narrow down, why am I yelling? Sorry. Narrow down the time of death for any one of the victims, because he's told so many stories that yeah, it just doesn't, It's unreliable. It's unreliable. Absolutely. The fact that Shanann did not fight back, the first thing that pops into my head is not maybe she was sleeping, because I don't know about you, but I have a phobia of like suffocating, choking, whatever. That's like the worst. Drowning, any of that stuff. And I don't know that someone can sleep through a strangling. I might be naive, but I haven't seen many cases where that happened. So the fact that she didn't fight back, the first thing that wasn't an idea for me was, oh, she was sleeping. It was, oh, so he got her from the back. And so I've listened to hours of medical examiner testimonies in a different case that I don't remember the name of, but I'll link it below, where she talks about exactly those types of conundrums and what injuries look like when you're manually strangled versus suffocated versus, and you know, all of that stuff. And so, yes, Jolie, exactly. Chris is an unreliable historian, just like Dee Blanchard. Exactly. So yeah, and then of course, so that's the first thing. But given that the toxicology report didn't show any chloroform, didn't show any opiates, didn't show anything, you know, again, chloroform is a possibility, but there would have to be an explanation why it's not on the toxicology report. And if the explanation is, well, it wouldn't it would have already been out of her system, and that's not an opinion, it's something that an expert says, right? Then I can say, okay, so it's possible that she was also chloroformed, but based on decomposition, whatever, it wouldn't have been detected. I agree, the happy campers. We need a meetup. Hi, Reshaped. Yeah, I'm not sure, Dana. I do know that death has an impact on how certain chemicals are detected. So, yeah, I don't know. From my understanding, it's even though some chemicals can leave your body within 24 hours, but like if you die within a certain time frame, it could still be detected in your system somehow, even though it's been past 24 hours. I don't know. All that post-mortem artifact stuff. That's why, again, just listening to medical examiner testimonies is going to help with those kinds of questions. What? Sorry. My sister's here and she's just like, what? She's not even listening. Mark Klein, I'm thinking along those lines too, like from you know, I don't know what they're called. What are they called? Headlocks? Headlock. Yeah. And the other day when my sister and I were talking about the discovery and when we were talking about the autopsy, we both compared our notes, like I was saying, and we both did like a drawing of the injuries on a model of like on a neck anatomy model thing, and we did it independently. I didn't even know she was doing it. And when we compared our drawings, like we literally got the same results. So that means that like two people have independently come up with the same. So we're not, you know, and then when we started talking about how those injuries could have occurred, you know, one of the things that we both thought was most likely was, you know, the chokehold from behind. And
it's like an arm lock. It's not a choke.
Arm lock, yeah, headlock.
When you choke, you most often will break
The bone, yeah. So
the way her bruising was, she was like died from being helped from behind.
yeah. Hi, Reshaped. You sound awfully familiar. I'm reading chat, by the way. Sorry. I've talked for like an hour and a half straight, so trying to take a break and see what you guys have to say. Where's Megan? Any news? I don't see her still, unless I'm not doing something right. I know, Saint Funny, we do sound alike. That's why a lot of people say, that's why a lot of people say that we're one person. Hi, Miss Sophia. It's so nice to see you. Welcome. I just had a whole rant, and if you asked me to repeat any of it, I wouldn't know what to tell you. I'm so tired. I did email Megan. Let me see if she... Maybe I need to turn my screen off. Oh crap, I almost like ended the live. Hi, Megan. You're muted, FYI.
Oh, okay. Hi.
Hi. I can hear you. Can everyone else hear Megan? Please confirm. I'm so excited.
Okay, so I'm on my phone. So now how is there a way to see the chat or no?
Yeah, there should be like a chat button, and you can just press that, and then it'll give you like a private chat, and then the public chat will be in another tab.
Okay, yeah, I see it.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Awesome.
Okay,
All
so do I
right.
need to mute it while you're talking? Is that how this
No, no,
works?
no, no, no.
Okay.
Absolutely
I didn't know
not.
if there was I didn't know if there was echo.
No, no, not on my end. I think we're all
So
good.
I missed what you were talking about at the end when I was trying to log on.
Girl, I forgot. I
Well,
forgot.
I had all this stuff that you're talking about that I was gonna respond to, and now of
Yeah,
course
go for it. Go for it.
except I'm trying to remember
I've been
now.
wanting to hear your thoughts forever.
Well, the one thing that I asked in the chat was that I told you in the chat is I'm trying to figure out this. Well, the problem with this case is that it seems like they're not following any of the laws that they're supposed to. So I asked you in the chat that I told you that I needed help with the Chris's stipulation being left out, one of the stipulations out of his plea agreement.
Yeah, I
So
saw that. What stipulation was that?
the stipulation that was left out was the factual basis. So in the Colorado revised statutes, one of them is that the defendant must provide a factual basis for the crimes of which they committed, crime or crimes.
Okay.
Now that one is not in Chris's plea agreement.
Oh, interesting.
Which is one of the reasons probably why we haven't or did not get a confession from him, or a legitimate one anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So because the purpose of that is to, try to avoid putting people that are innocent in prison. So Chris
What
should
was
have
that
had
correct
to.
language? What
I'm
was
sorry.
left out?
It was
Oh,
the factual
factual.
basis.
Okay.
Yes.
So let me think. Yeah, that doesn't make, well, that's the thing. See, that's the thing, because now I'm like, hold on. Well, what if this? What if that? Because here's some of the questions that are going through my head if I was being cross-examined.
Right.
So can they say that I don't know. See, that's a tricky one, because at that point he wouldn't have even been convicted yet. Because if he was already convicted, you could argue that maybe the conviction in itself stands as a factual basis for something. But at this point, this was just a plea deal. So yeah, I don't know. That would be something interesting to look into. Okay.
Yeah, the problem is I don't know any lawyers or doctors, and that's the problem that I have in researching this case, because, and like you said, I spend hours just like you do, just reading all these websites, and I'm like, my brain is mush at
Exactly.
the end of the day, because I'm like, what is going on? I don't even know what is going on. I don't know. I don't understand any of this.
Exactly.
But what I'm wondering is why is that possible to even leave? I mean, what do they have, statutes for if they can just presumably just leave them out,
Right.
leave out an entire one or multiple ones? So I'm just wondering if
And
that,
that's
I
the
mean, I
thing.
don't.
I think that there's some parts of the discovery that to us don't make sense when we break it down and when we look at each of the details. And so that would be that you're right. That would definitely be a question for like a lawyer. Like I said, I've asked Scott a lot of questions, but he made me do the research myself because he didn't respond,
That's funny.
which is okay. But again, it would be like a lawyer question. And I've actually joined several like lawyer meme pages because I just love memes. And everyone seems just so friendly in there. So maybe we can recruit, a lawyer, I don't know, just to answer questions like this for us. Like, is this important to the point where this is like a constitutional violation? Or is this one of those things that it doesn't even matter? That's normal? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, no, totally. That's what I'm saying are there repercussions if a prosecutor leaves out a stipulation
Right.
from the statutes, or is it, you know, Rourke's a prosecutor and the DA and he can do whatever he wants and he's apparently, untouchable?
Well,
Or do these small little towns just do whatever they feel like?
yeah.
Do they make their own laws? And that's the problem that I find with, trying to like figure out this case is it's like I'm researching actual, what happens in actual situations and actual cases, but yet they're not following any of those guidelines. They're not. So how can I say or prove this or prove that if they're not even going by what I'm researching? Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's so I think that goes along with someone's question in chat. They said, oh crap, now I lost it. It was a really good question. Let me see. Damn it. Now it's gone. But oh, hold on. Oh, like the difference between statutes and policies and stuff like that. Oh, thank God I remembered. Right. So like
Right.
statutes are the law basically, and everyone has to follow them. But then depending on what agency or what part of the state or whatever, each agency has their own set of policies as well. as well as administrative codes. So you have all these different laws and all these different, you know, guidelines, but statutes are supposed to be like the law and you can't break them. But then with the way that policies typically work in the criminal justice system, at least, I feel like, is that it's definitely written in a way that you can, I don't know, like it'll say all of these things are against prison policies, for example, and then the last part of the policy is like everything else, or it's at the discretion of the warden. So it's like you're saying these are all the rules and whatever else the warden comes up with, you know. So there's like different loopholes, and that's the thing, like that's where the like lawyer mind comes in, because that's all it is loopholes and technicalities and all of that stuff, which is basically the 35C. If you want to pursue that in terms of appealing it, that would be a way to pursue it. Is it'll have to go
Right.
through
Yeah.
a
Or you'd
loophole.
have to find, yeah, or you'd have to find some sort of prosecutorial misconduct or something. But even then, though, I feel like just from what I've researched about prosecutors and, you know, and Rourke, they seem pretty much, you know, invincible or, you know, or untouchable pretty much.
And that's the problem with the system, because it's not going to happen overnight. And so I think a lot of, again, like previous cases, if you look at, again, the West Memphis, like those 3 guys were in prison for 18 years before they were exonerated. And the only way that they were exonerated is if they accepted an Alford plea, basically meaning maintaining their innocence, but saying that they're guilty just for the purpose of being able to get out of jail because they're in there innocent. So that's messed up in its own thing, you know, like because they didn't want to go through another trial because they didn't want to risk the chance of another. Right. Yeah. So they took the Alford plea. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, there are cases before this case where everything has been put under the microscope. The whole Kathleen Zellner, she's making a case on cover up by the state, or by whatever, Manitowoc County, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the frustrating part, is because if Chris is going to appeal, it's going to go to the same exact courthouse where he was convicted. It's going to go in front of the same judge. Is the same judge going to overturn his own like ruling? No, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. No, because for one, it would make him look bad if he said,
Exactly.
"Oh, yeah, I didn't notice this," or, you know, yeah, no, yeah, you're totally right.
So it would take years, and you kind of go into it expecting that the first 3 years are just going to be paperwork, because every time you send it to the court, the judge is going to deny it. And so you go through your maximum amount of whatever appeals to that judge, and then when you reach the max, you go to the state Supreme Court, and then they deny you a couple of times, and then you go to the Supreme Court, you know. So that's
Right.
the process.
Exactly.
And it's a, I think that's part of the reason why it is such a horrendous process. You know, have a 24-hour investigation turned to 5 life sentences, but to overturn that and to redo that action that happened in less than 2 months, you know, it takes decades. And that's what I'm saying. The only way to maybe quicken the process is to find evidence that is compelling enough to say, whoa.
Right. And that's scary, even from just researching how many people actually go to prison that are innocent. I mean,
Right.
like, just think about it.
Oh,
Like,
God.
you get coerced into just pleading guilty because you're just scared, but you're actually innocent. Freaks me out.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's scary. And that's why I always say to, you know, I would get myself in trouble whether or not I did something. You know, I'm just one of those people that gets freaked out for no apparent reason when I see like law enforcement. And, you know, I'll be admitting to like stealing chocolate when I was 6, you know, and they're like, all right, this lady's weird. Let's keep it moving, you know. But in my head, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to jail. So I can't imagine just being able to just sit there and lie to the FBI, knowing damn right that as soon as they look at the very first phone record, the first line on your phone records already proves that you're lying. So,
Oh my gosh, if they saw my internet search history, oh my Lord, especially with this
oh,
case, oh my gosh, they'd be like, oh my gosh,
oh,
what is wrong
yeah,
with this woman?
exactly.
It
And
like it goes all over the place.
right. And that's why, you know, those searches are like suspicious, but they're not beyond a reasonable doubt convincing that she plotted this. You see what I mean? So they're normal
Right.
enough to where you can find someone in the general public and look at their web history and, you know, find something similar, but that doesn't mean that they committed a crime. So
Right. And
that's
I see, yeah.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry. No, I
No,
talked.
go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I think it's a good start, like that suspicion that, wait a minute, like I need to find out more. That's a good start, you know, and we're working from there. And so that's what the files are about. That's what all of that is about, is taking it one thing at a time and not becoming overwhelmed. Because for me personally, like I said, I can't do it alone, and I just don't take everyone's word on everything, like, you know what I mean? So if you could start like a research group discussion kind of thing, oh my God, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, no,
Anyway,
I agree. I mean, I listen to the nowadays anything is possible,
yeah.
honestly, and it's scary.
Hmm.
But and the thing with the search histories is I mean, if everybody's search history is anything like mine, I mean, all the stuff that I search every single day, and
Hmm.
that's all that they're showing us. I mean, I
Hmm.
get not like printing out their entire search history. That would be ridiculous, you know. If
Right.
she's like looking up high heels or something, I don't know what she'd look up, but and
Mhm.
whatever else, it would be, you know, pages and pages long. But for the for them to only or for us to believe that they only searched like what 10 things within a period of how I don't know how far back they went back. They had to have gone back to 2017 if they knew
Exactly.
that she
No,
so
yeah, he did a keyword search. So it just popped up where whatever he searched for came up,
right.
you know? But but yeah, absolutely. And if you look at the end of his report, and that, I'm telling you, I've gone through these files so many times in my head. I think that particular one was written by this guy, Darren Ford. He did the phone analyses, and that's the report where you can see the screenshots of like the steps that they took and everything, which is ridiculous. Like those
Yeah.
screenshots are not freaking written in stone. It's a screenshot of it's a photo of a screen of a phone. Like, come on, give me a break. Like, you literally have all of that extracted and you're giving
Right.
me shady screenshots. Like, no thanks. This, you know.
Yeah, exactly. They should have been part of the report, not
Yeah.
shots of it, you know, of her.
And at the end of his report, he does say, you know, these are just some things that are interesting, but the data should be examined in its entirety. And so that's all we're trying to do. We're just following his advice. So
So I was just thinking, so you said that he used keywords, so I'm just wondering if he used those specific
he
websites that she looked up or the DP, like was that his keywords?
oh no, I'm
I know,
saying
I'm just kidding, I'm kidding.
for the 2017, but that would be, yeah, that would be hilarious. But he did say this is by no means the only
Right.
time that she looked at this kind of content. So yeah, very much ADD, Angelina. Sorry.
There was something that you mentioned in oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm done.
Okay. There's something in a live that you mentioned a couple, like, I don't remember which one it was, but, and I should have wrote it down, and I kick myself when I don't, but it was something in regards to, something where they mentioned in the discovery about how, I think you were talking about how there's so many different people's hands on everything, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, this person, Amanda Purcell, put
Mm-hmm.
this in the evidence bag, and then she sent it, and then this person had their hands on it, and then
Right.
this person delivered it, but there was something you mentioned that, and of course I can't find it in the discovery, but I know it's there, of how one of the agents took all 4 phones
Mm-hmm.
to, I think it was to the Northern Colorado
Mm-hmm.
Forensics Laboratory. Do you remember that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Keep talking, because there's a couple of those, because the phones went there a few times.
Well, what I'm wondering is how, and I wanted to look it up, but I was wondering how they have all 4 phones, because I know that they gave, or supposedly they gave, Kessinger's phone back to her during that first interview with her dad.
So part of
and then go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
Okay, and so they gave her phone back. They ran the report, supposedly, right? Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then they gave her phone back to her. Well, as far as I knew, she had that phone with her all the way up until she had the interview with Kobach again on the 23rd of September. So what I'm wondering is how did they take all 4 phones to the Northern Colorado Forensics Laboratory if she supposedly had her phone, her iPhone 6, given back to her, and she had it the whole time until September? Does that make sense?
So can you see my screen? I'm very, I want to say anal, but I don't know if that's appropriate. Type A when it comes to to like all this stuff. And so I categorized all the, like, literally the entire discovery, like all the pages and everything, and by agency and whatever dates they did stuff. So you said you're wondering about the phones, right?
Right.
So I know that guy's name is Darren Ford. So let's see. So here it is. His phone analysis. Hold on, that's one of them. So that's his report. Let's see. Okay, here. So the report date was October 3rd, and they got the phones. He got the phones September 10th. So they would have already had her phone.
Okay, so then that's why I'm confused, because in the discovery, Kobach says that he called her to
Give
come
over
into, right, to see if they could use Celebrite to try and get more information off of her phone. So how would Darren Ford have her phone if she had
September
it when
10th.
she went? Right.
Oh no, she gave up her iPhone. She never got that one back, but she got the Samsung back because they kept the iPhone. She signed it off. It's that form. Let me see.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that he says in the discovery that he wanted to run her iPhone 6 again to get more information off of it, and then they tried to run her Android that she switched over, that those screenshots supposedly popped up, those text messages,
Right.
and then they couldn't, for some reason, they couldn't download any information off of that or extract any information off of that. So, I mean, I don't know if any of this is relevant, but I just trying to figure out how he had all 4 phones. If
that's exactly the point of exactly like what I was talking about, is for us to like think about it together. So like my understanding was that, so that on, oh, I'm looking at it, it's page, I don't know what PDF page number it is, but it's page 1111. And it's a report from, a supplemental report from Baumhover. So he attached the sheet for when he took the phones to, oh my God, to Darren Ford. Hold on, I'm looking for when he got them. I thrive in chaos, by the way, so, oh, here we go.
No, your spreadsheets are awesome. It probably takes you so long, I can't even imagine.
It doesn't feel like it because I feel like that's how I'm processing all this information. Because if you have to go through it in that much detail, like, you know, you're crap in that, you know what I mean? Like, you kind of learn about
Yeah, I
what's,
almost feel like, I almost feel like they do it on purpose almost. They just make it
oh, I know.
confusing and put all these hands, you know, all these different departments and just,
Mhm.
and nothing's in order in the discovery, of course.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so, okay, so now I found when they went after Darren Ford was done with it, it went to Greeley, and then that Michael Prill guy took them over, and he's the one that did that timeline. And I know Kobach's form is somewhere in here where Kessinger signed off, and that's also in the interview because you can literally hear him say, write on there everything that you're giving us permission for, basically. And she's writing it on there, and he's like, and he said, we'll give it back to you at what point, I don't know. And she says, no, you don't have to give me that phone back. And that's where he took it. Kobach took it. And then if you follow all the evidence receipt forms, like, they've had it since he took it. Oh, here I am. I found it. It's, damn it, I don't know what PDF number or page number this would be. Oh, well, I can look it up here.
While you're looking that up, I did find the part in the discovery that Kobach talks about.
Which part?
The August 23rd interview with Kessinger. It says, let me see here, let me just paraphrase here. Okay, it says, Agent Kobach arranged to meet Nicole Kessinger at the CBI office in Lakewood, Colorado. Kessinger and I had previously discussed her cellular telephone iPhone 6, which she used to converse and text with Christopher Watts. Kessinger had previously consented to a search of her cellular telephone in Thornton, Colorado on August 16th. While at Thornton Police Department, her cellular phone was downloaded using the XRY software. As a backup and effort to possibly recover more information, I requested that Nicole allow the CBI to download her phone again using a different software. It's supposed to say tool, but it says TOO semicolon. Celebrate. Nicole consented to another search of her phone and agreed to come to CBI office and provide me her phone.
Right.
So to me, that seems like she had it the entire time since the 16th interview.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That part, yes. She had her phone the entire time until August 23rd, which is ridiculous.
Oh, totally. Yeah, but.
Yeah. That's absolutely correct. And that's also messed up. Yeah, because, you know, I mean, they still can retrieve stuff that she deleted. So that's good. But if she was good at, like, if she destroyed the phone, you know, like 2 weeks after the crime, we'd be screwed because it would be gone. And
yeah, I thought.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. We'll get you screwed.
You're my guest. I talk too much.
No, I know. I didn't mean to interrupt you, though. I mean, I know you talk too much. That came out wrong. I'm like, yeah, no, I know you talk too much. No, go ahead, finish.
So I could go on forever. So don't tell
Me too.
me to finish. But yeah. And see, now I forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah, but even with like in terms of like preservation of evidence and preservation of the crime scene, like the makeup that they used, I think they used, because according to Baumhofer, that's what he was asking for. But in order to compare Shanann's makeup to the pillowcases and what appears to be makeup on the pillowcases, they wanted to compare it to Shanann's makeup. And so Baumhofer had to ask Shanann's family for the makeup bag that was there when she came back from Arizona. And he said something along the lines of like, I remember seeing a makeup bag and I called the family and asked them for it so that we can compare it. And they said yes, and they brought back the makeup bag. But the makeup bag was gone for a month. And how do you know? Like, I'm not questioning, but in terms of just evidence integrity, like you can't account for that evidence for a month. And I would say that would not be very strong evidence, in my opinion. Like, I would argue not to even admit that
Right.
into court, because yeah.
I mean, why was it even released to her family? Or why did their family even get their hands on it in the first place?
Well,
I mean, that should have all been.
They released it. They never collected the makeup bag for evidence. They released it. And if you've seen Midnight Mysterologist, who does these really cool like short clips of these weird things that happen. Yeah, even the stuff that he said that he was loading in the truck was sitting there for a month.
Oh, geez.
Over a month, and that's what I'm saying. Like, the evidence was not, it wasn't done properly. I don't know why. It was rushed. It was definitely rushed. But there's a lot of things that wasn't initially collected as evidence, but later on, it's too late. Like, I don't know. Like, I wouldn't even allow it into court if I had any say in it, because it's contaminated.
Yeah, that's embarrassing. And then they, people have mentioned before too, the Starbucks in the trash, and then the other sheet in the trash.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody thought to check those and see who those were, or whose names were written on. Or, I don't know. I mean, but
yeah, and they did take a picture of it, so clearly. And then another thing that really, I was talking about this, I don't know where, but I was talking about it somewhere. But we all see about what's his name, Coonrod, on the 13th, when everything happened. We see him looking at the trash can, and we see toys in there, and blankets and kid things, and that's like bizarre, considering that the mom is missing with her two kids. You see toys in the garbage bag or garbage, whatever, and that's it. Like, no one followed up on it. Okay. So then this is all on body cam footage. So then Baumhofer comes over, blah, 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 blah. They all leave for the day, right? So that's it. No one's asking questions about the garbage. Everyone saw the toys. What's his name? Coonrod took pictures of them, but that's it. The night of the 13th, we see in the 911 logs, I think, pretty sure, Chris's neighbor calls 911 or whatever, and says that it's been so windy and stormy or whatever that all the garbage cans were blowing all over the neighborhood. I'm paraphrasing, but something like that. Meaning that on the 13th or the 14th, or at some point between when the officers left and the next day when they came back, the freaking garbage truck came through. And the next day when they do the search warrant in the house, we see the trash cans wide open in the garage, empty.
Yeah, it's rather convenient, huh?
And that's how a lot of things are, if we pick them apart. So So yeah, it's definitely questionable how this was investigated and why the crime scene didn't even exist. So
Well, that's another thing that bothered me too, is when Coder, after the first day says, so would you mind taking a polygraph test? And Chris is like, yeah, sure, that's fine. And then, okay, well, how about, I don't know, like 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, after
Mhm.
you're done eating brunch and picking your father up from there, I mean, like, where's the sense of urgency?
Mhm.
Like when this pregnant mother and her daughters are missing, but you want, you know, a potential
Mhm.
suspect to come back at 11 o'clock the next morning after he picks up his dad and eats breakfast and works out or whatever he does in the morning. Like it just is like, I would think it'd be 7 o'clock a.m. Actually, I wouldn't even probably have sent him home, but if I was an investigator, but just as 11 o'clock the next day just doesn't seem urgent. And and then you have Kobach and Kessinger that are doing their little back and forth text messaging, that,
Mhm.
okay, well, I can come in now. And he's like, well, I'm in a meeting, so we'll have to
Yeah.
reschedule. And then now I'm in the mountains, and so I'll be back in a week. It's
Right.
crazy.
Yeah. Oh, it is frustrating for sure. And that's just the whole thing. Like, I refuse to accept that law enforcement, not just in Colorado, but anywhere, because we rely on them to protect us. But I refuse to accept that they wouldn't follow up on something like this, you know? And so that's why I'm praying that when we do get the rest of these files, that we can once and for all answer that question. It's really
Yeah,
not
that would
that
be.
difficult.
Yeah,
I thought,
I,
oh, go ahead.
you go ahead, finish.
No, I was going to say, I thought that like the fact that Rourke even chose to answer the question of whether or not it was a typo, the fact that he said no, like we don't know, or no, it wasn't, or whatever. I thought that was a more difficult question to answer than did you check the GPS coordinates of her that morning, you know? But then again, I don't know.
Yeah, to me, it seems like he honestly only got up and answered that question. And actually, he didn't even answer it, technically. He
Yeah.
said, I can't explain that. Uh, to me, I think it was only because people were making a huge hype about it, so he was forced almost to address it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it doesn't really. The thing with Rourke is he, from what I get, is he's all about his image. Do you know who James Comey is? I'm sure you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But okay. Well, I was telling my boyfriend the other day that Rourke reminds me of James Comey, because James Comey is always, he's
Mm-hmm.
just, oh my God, and I just want to thank my people at the FBI. And he just always feels like he's always trying to be so, courteous and so
Diplomatic.
and caring, but
Mm-hmm.
really he's just a POS.
Yeah.
That's how I get the same characteristics I see in Rourke, because he's in the other cases that I've studied, he he doesn't do anything until someone makes him look bad,
Mm-hmm.
like till his image is threatened.
Yeah,
So
and I mean, I don't even know, and that's another thing, like that goes into the motive bracket, and like this is the speculation world, you know, when I try to think of just in terms of like, okay, would a reasonable person, if I was Rourke and I had, what would need to be on the line in order for me to jeopardize my entire career and my entire reputation for this cover up of this particular case? What could be so big that he would be ready to put his entire life's work online? And that's what I'm saying. Like, I can't think of anything really that I know for me would be worth doing something like that. And in terms of, yes, it was re-election time, and it was election time, and he is an elected official. And I need to look into this a little bit more, but from my understanding, this is hearsay, but my understanding was that he didn't even have an opponent. So I don't know that we can say maybe it was just a campaign trick. Like he wanted to look good.
Right.
But I don't know. Did he have an opponent even?
Yeah, that's what I heard too, and I don't think he did have anybody, but I haven't verified that either. But
Right. Yeah.
yeah, and
So.
usually it is, a lot of the times it is a political thing.
Mhm.
But when I don't know if you saw my video that I actually did. I had a chance to actually speak to an actual, psychiatrist
Mhm.
that, he's in his 80s, but he's had
Mm.
over 40 years of experience, and so he was like nice enough just to even, give me 15 minutes of his time. And the thing of it is he's not like biased about the case. He knows like a few things. He knew a few things about it,
Mhm.
but he's not pro Kessinger, he's not pro, or whatever.
Right.
But and
He's
so I was able to
neutral.
get his honest, actual, like, opinion on it, like from all his years of experience. And the thing is he worked years in Colorado,
Mhm.
in and out of the court system, so that was even
Mm.
better. But I mean, I didn't even have to get into the second question until he said, well, actually it was the question that I said, something about the plea deal being really fast. And then he said, well, and I don't know why he asked this, and I should follow up with him on it, but he said that he asked me, he was asking me more questions than I was asking him. I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah.
No, but he said, he said, where did all his court cases, where were all his court cases? What courthouse was it? Was it where the crimes were committed, or where they
Really fast.
or where he lives, in the county that he lives in? And I said, well, they were all in Greeley, and it happened in Weld County.
Mhm.
And before I could say anything else, he said, oh yeah, there's definitely something going on there. Like,
Yeah.
so pretty much he told me that these small towns in Colorado,
Mhm.
that he's, even back when he was, back in the day, he said that corruption has been going on in Colorado for the longest time. And he said
Yeah.
if it was in Denver or one of these bigger cities, they wouldn't have been able to get away with it. But since it's a smaller county, he said
Mhm.
that they pretty much make their own rules and they do whatever they want.
Right. Yeah.
So it's pretty much confirmed,
Yeah.
what I've been saying for a while. But so it's almost like, is there anything we can do about it? Which I don't know.
And that's the point of the whole research part. And that's when what you did in talking with the psychiatrist, that was definitely research, because the thing is, I think for a lot of people, I don't know, at least for me, I can only speak for myself, but for me, this is not about me personally, right? Like I don't care. Like I'm not hoarding trivia questions for Chris Watts. Like it's not a secret, there any time people start trading secrets on a public case, that to me is silly, because if I have something, I'm gonna share it. Like if it's public domain, I am not, I'm not, anyways. So that's my
No, yeah,
take.
I agree. It's not a competition. Like, I'm not here for views. I'm not here for subs. Like, I
Yeah.
just honestly, like, the reason why I started making videos is because I saw these channels, purposely spreading disinformation, and to me, that's one of my pet peeves.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so, and then of course I just started making videos on the case itself. But to me, it's about getting the truth out. And
Exactly.
bottom line, regardless if if whatever theories you think, or if you think he had help, or whatever, if you think it's a psyop, it doesn't matter. What
Yeah.
we all need to know is that we've been lied to, like, on a massive scale, and we need to figure out why, and we need to know how to, either learn how to know when we're in the future if they're deceiving us again, and maybe nothing will come out of this case, but maybe we can prevent it in the future from happening. I don't know, but
Right.
to me, it's not about, it's nothing about that. To me,
Notoriety or anything. Exactly. And that was my whole idea of this whole topic tonight, is the importance of research and the importance of having these what are they called, standards for research, because we have like 20 different cliques. I feel like we're all cliques, kind of, right? We have 20 different cliques, all of them inter-arguing with one another, flip-flopping, backstabbing, all of this for what? It's because it tells me that not everybody's motives are the same. And
Right.
and so that's part of it, and I'm not going to bash anybody for that, by all means. Like, if you can get anywhere with that, like, go for it. I'm going to support it either way. But that's not the idea that I have for what I'm trying to accomplish. And the reason why I'm so stuck on that idea, and the reason why I'm here even talking about this, is because I don't know everything, but I know enough to know that we need to question this. And it's not about slapping anyone's name on it. Like, I initially went into it writing a book, but I haven't even touched that in months, because now I'm like, well, crap, I'm stuck,
Mhm.
because I need to know, the curiosity is killing. And that's the part of, again, is those standards. Like, I am not after being anybody's, like, I don't want to be personally involved in a case, but at the same time, if I can't get information, I'm not going to wildly speculate if the family is available and willing to answer questions. That doesn't mean I have now ownership and authority over who communicates with the family. Absolutely not. That would be absolutely grandiose illusion type of thing if I had the idea that I could dictate who can talk to anyone. Anyways, that
No,
was
yeah,
like,
I agree totally. And if we can, and I have no problem with being open-minded and speculating, but listening to you earlier, you're right. We need to stick to the facts, and because speculating is honestly, it's not going to get us anywhere. But the trouble is,
yeah,
yeah, we don't
100%.
have all the facts, and that's the problem. But
Mm-hmm.
we
And
have to
that's the
work with what
thing.
we do have.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, not get offended if we ask questions of one another. And again, it's not because I'm attacking you, but it's because, like, let's put it to the test. Like, you're cross-examining me. If I'm making a claim that something is, and you don't agree with it, and we can't agree on it because we just have simply two different perspectives, that's fine too. But what I don't like is, again, people going personal. Like, if you can't argue on the topic that we're talking about, if we can't argue like adults, like debate, talk, share ideas, offer suggestions, exchange information, knowledge, if we can't do that in a civil manner without feeling personally attacked, or you feeling like you need to go after someone's personality, personal life, what they do in their free time, what they don't do in their free time, who pays them, who doesn't pay them, all of those things become irrelevant and they become distracting. So I think in a nutshell, what I'm saying is, like, I'm determined. I have a purpose and I have a goal, and I'm going to, I'll get distracted because ADD, but that's the road that I'm on. Will I make mistakes? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but
No, I agree. Yeah. And that's my thing too, is as at first when I started making videos, like I said, as I would, people spreading disinformation, I would try to make videos or I would make videos debunking them. But I came to the point where I'm like, why am I sitting here trying to,
right,
debunk these people? Like, when it's not going to get anywhere.
exactly.
So I just stop that and just started trying to stick with the facts, and
Yeah,
we
do
should be
your
able
own
to
thing.
talk and without arguing with people. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely, yeah. I mean, everyone is entitled to their own opinion, and like I said, even even Miss Menza has a place on the platform, because she's entitled to her opinion. Is it extreme? I would say so. but that's my opinion. You know,
Right.
but that doesn't mean that she doesn't have the right to talk. Now, I don't know, you can disagree with that, but that is part of the whole freedom of speech thing. But then there's a difference between freedom of speech and straight up abuse, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when someone attacks you, like, that's absolutely not. Like, I will delete comments that are name calling, that are personally attacking and things like that. But opinions and things like, you know, about the case, please, you know, if you think aliens, if you think Janet Jackson did it, you know,
Right, exactly.
bring it on, you know, let's talk about it.
No, yeah, I watched Miss Benson. I watch all the tarot card, you know, and the psychics and stuff. And like
Well,
you said earlier,
yeah.
I'll listen to it. That doesn't mean that I'm going to take it as factual, but I'm going to take it into consideration, of course, you know, because you need to hear all sides. And the fact that too that people are, it's crazy that people are like name calling and just fighting over. It's not even like they personally, you know, said an opinion about you or your family. It's about a case, so
Yeah.
which is even crazier to me.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, we should be able to talk and share our opinions. And if you can't, then I mean, and if you don't want to listen to all sides, then what are you doing here? You know?
And exactly, and that, yeah, and that's exactly, that's the issue, you know. And I don't know, like someone said, everyone doesn't need to act like they're all perfect, LOL. And no one needs to act like they're perfect, because no one is perfect. And I'm not trying to act perfect. I'm trying to talk about what standards I set for myself. And if I'm doing something, if I'm trying to practice integrity in any way that I can, I will do that. Do I mess up? Absolutely. I rage sometimes, like in mod chat, I'm like, hold me back, because I will flip, you know? So yeah, absolutely. Like, those things are absolutely normal, but I do not need to bring my personal feelings about any one particular person into this, because I choose not to. I could if I wanted to, but I don't want to, you know, whatever.
Yeah, and you can't be biased and try to, you know, get to the truth or the facts. Like you can't just, you know, I'm not gonna. If somebody says something about Kessinger that, and I say no, and I mean, it's not that I'm sticking up for it, but I'm just being realistic, and I'm saying, hey, no, that's not, you know, necessarily true. They can get mad at me for it, but I mean, that's because I don't have a biased perspective on this, you know, and that's, if I'm going to say that someone, if I see that someone says something that I think is wrong or something about Kessinger, I'm not going to be biased about it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
But then it's so important for people to just like, I mean, any information that like any of these channels say, they should be able, all the information should be able for people to find and vet. Should be available so that they can, it should be provable.
Right. So if you're hiding stuff and claiming, like, you know, you can't have this, or you can't see this, or I have this, or whatever, you know, and then that limits us. That limits us to only taking your word for it. And quite frankly, like, that's not good enough for me, because it's not good enough for any judge, right? So
Right.
Why should I settle for your word when any judge is going to laugh in your face if you come to him talking about, you can't see what I have, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have this information, but you can't see it. Sorry.
Right.
Because it's, yeah. No, I agree. I totally agree. But you know, and then too, like people probably don't want to hear that Kessinger would probably never be investigated or something. But I mean, if that's truly how it's going to be, then I don't. I mean, I don't know. See what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
it might not be their ending to their story that they want to hear, or their justice of justice. But I mean, if that's going to end up being the truth, then that's what it is. So I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. And like I said, you know, I suspect like something's fishy, and there's enough circumstantial evidence to make you go, all right, like this is way too many coincidences. So now this is beyond my comfort zone, you know, like I want to know more. So for me, it got to that point, and I will never say this is a fact. I will never say this is a fact. Cassinger walked out of the garage. I can say it looks like a ponytail, and I can say it walks feminine, and it has a gait, and it has a posture, it has a posterior and anterior and all the tiers.
It's an it.
You know, but I still can't say that is her walking out of the freaking garage. So
yeah, and it's okay to have theories, but I mean, just say that they're theories, you know. And then, like I said, if they're, you know, you're great about it too. Any information that you find, it's visible to everybody. Like, you make it so they can see it. You know, granted, it might be because you, like you say, you're more of a visual person, hands-on. That's how I am too. Like, I can't just hear something; I have to see it. You know.
Exactly.
So,
same.
but that, you know, it gives people something to look at and to go and research, and that's why it's so important for people to just take a little bit of time just to research what, you know, some other channels are saying. Absolutely. Before you just completely, you know, 100% believe it.
Absolutely. Why would it be, you know, I don't know. Like I watch whatever, like I've been following the Suzanne Morphew case. I'm following obviously the Letitia case, the Valo case, you know, I'm following all of this. And there are some creators that do videos on those cases. There are some creators like Gray Hughes, like I love what he does. I love his channel, you know, and I could just watch him do all that stuff forever because his mind thinks like a researcher. And he's super logical, like too logical for me, you know, because sometimes I'm like, but wait. And just as I'm having a thought, he'll be like, if you're one of those people thinking that maybe there's a possibility, you know, he's like, just leave now because I don't even want to hear it. You know, like, damn it, you know.
Yeah, I've heard of him, and I remember someone bringing him up in the chat, and I completely forgot about him, so I'll have to check him out.
Yeah, so he does, you know, he does his thing, and I really like, he does some serious research, and he does some serious, he puts time into the cases that he does. So, you know, I do watch other creators, and I do watch other content that doesn't have anything to do with the Watts, and then I do watch Watts only places, you know, and so it's like, I don't know. Why would you want to just watch one thing that you agree with over and over and over again? Like that, what's
exactly.
You know, where's the curiosity?
Yeah, exactly. I agree. But I don't have a group either. Like, I don't have a group that I can discuss with. Like, I'm on my own. So it's like, it's a lot. And so all these other cases, I haven't even had a chance. Well, I just started following the whatever her last name is, Suzanne case.
Yeah. You're not on Facebook, right?
I mean, I have Facebook, but I'm like anti-Facebook just because of the whole privacy and spying thing, and
no, that's totally understandable. Because we were just talking about that tonight, like creating like a group, I don't know, Discord. And I don't know,
just heard about that.
Yeah, I don't know much about Discord. Like I heard like gamers use it all the time, but I've never, you know, but that's something like to explore that I'm going to personally look into. Oh, Tanya, hi. Sorry, Tanya. I'm not paying attention to chat. Thank you for being here. Thank you. But yeah, just looking into Discord and creating like a channel or whatever they're called, where, you know, setting like day and time or multiple days, multiple times, whatever, and just having these calls where people just can call in whenever they want.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I just heard about it like 2 days ago when I was in another live. Not a Watts live, but and they're like, oh, Megan, have you been on Discord? I'm like, huh? What's a Discord? What's that?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But I did want to mention something, a point when you brought up the Valo case. If you've seen the most recent body cam footage where they released of her ex-husband, the one that was killed, right? Yeah. Okay,
Sorry?
I'm barely following that case, and then just started the Suzanne case. So, if you notice in the body cam footage, once they go inside the house, everything is blurred out.
Mm-hmm.
You notice that? Well, that's what you're supposed to do in a real investigation. So
Redact.
privacy, yeah, exactly. So when you see in the Watts case, when you see, them go into all the neighbors' house, and then the kids come out, like those kids' faces should have been redacted, or not redacted, but blurred out, because number one, they're underage, and again, it's a privacy issue. And then when you go and you have body cam footage in these people's homes, like, it's an invasion of privacy. Like, so now there's the woman who's said that, she was kind of like kooky, I don't know, and she was funny, but she said how her husband's always down in the basement, right, working or doing something. And then, here we don't have we don't have a Ring doorbell, we don't have cameras over here, we just got back from vacation. Like, that is a lot of private information. So now people know that your husband's downstairs all the time. They know that you don't have cameras in your house.
Yeah.
They know where all your, trinkets are, how your house is set up. Like, that's not okay. Like, I can't imagine that none of these neighbors or any of these witnesses have no issues with their personal information and coming into their homes being exposed like that.
I'm sure they do. And that's the whole other thing. Like, I think it goes back to that whole freedom of speech thing that we were saying. Like, sure, Miss Menza might be repulsive to some, but she is nonetheless, allowed to be on this platform and have her voice or whatever, right? So we don't get to decide that stuff. And in terms of redacting, like, that's again another statutes thing, because I'm sure that they wouldn't have messed this up in this case. Like, they would have redacted everything. They've redacted the PDF, they've redacted.
Yeah, they did.
They did put effort into it, but I don't know if it was like, yeah, I don't know why it wasn't redacted more.
Well,
but that would be a law thing, maybe.
Like, if you look up at any other
in Colorado, I don't know.
Right. Like, if you look up any other I don't know any other case, but at least I did look up, some PDFs on some CBI cases. Like, one, for instance, was a school shooting, and actually Tammy and Kirby Lewis and, a few other main ones that were in the Watts case covered it. And granted, a lot of the witnesses and stuff were students, so they're underage, so they were redacted. But then you have all the the parents and stuff. They were all everything was redacted. The only thing that wasn't redacted was the shooter, because he was now deceased, and what a young girl that died because she was shot in the school shooting. So that's how normal redactions was. It's not just some here, some there. And I mean, I'll tell you that they didn't even redact Chris's social security number.
Yeah.
At his discovery. So to me, that's
it's useless at this point. So I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I know, but it's just. But I'm just saying, that's what I was saying earlier when I first came on, is that I'm trying to research all these laws and stuff, but it's like they're not following what they're supposed to be doing anyways. Like, they're supposed to redact, and they didn't. And he's supposed to have this stipulation in his plea agreement, but he didn't. And there's just.
And
so it's like, where do you go from there?
If you read, what's interesting, if you want to get a sense of what Rourke is like and as an attorney, I would recommended reading. I would recommend reading all of the court motions in order. So whenever defense puts in a motion, the DA has to respond, and you can look at his responses, especially in the motions where defense lawyers were saying that there's, what did they call them? Like, people in law enforcement that are leaking information to the press. So they were arguing about that. And Rourke responded, and in a way that he presented his facts and his opinions. I don't know, like, you can just kind of tell the style, and so if I if I'm looking at a statute and I'm thinking, if I present this to Rourke based on like what I understand his style is, what would be his possible response? Because you know he's going to have one for everything. And so that's, again, a research question, because then it becomes, okay, well, this is what I'm saying. You broke this statute. And now I have to also think for him and think about, well, wait, what all can he argue? Like, what all is he protected by? So if
Right.
there's a policy where it says, you know, I can make up my own plea deals and I don't have to listen to anyone, and that's a policy, like official, you know, then that's it, you know. Is it wrong? Yes. Is he an ass for that? Yes, you know, but he's protected. So that's what I'm saying. Like, and that's the frustrating part, because that's why it takes so long, because you can have a theory, it's all fine and dandy, but I spend most of my time trying to disprove my theory.
Right. Well, that's kind of like a, if you look at it like flat earthers, like they normally before they are on the flat earth side, they try to disprove that theory, and then they end up finding themselves not being able to, and so they become a flat earther. Does that kind of make is similar maybe? But you know what I'm saying? Like, so they try to disprove the theory of flat earth, but then they can't, or I don't know, maybe that's not a good example, but
No, it's
just
definitely a conspiracy kind of thing, because we do have our flat earthers too in the Watts community, something that would be equivalent to the flat earthers, like, you know. So
right. But my point is just that they were trying to, you know, they were trying to discredit something first or disprove something
Mhm.
first before they ended up coming to that conclusion. I
Oh
guess is
yeah,
what I'm saying. But
yeah.
yeah, I know you're right about Rourke having an answer for everything, and that's why I said he reminds me of Comey, because Comey always has an answer for everything, you know, and so you
And
have to
he
try
has
and
to. He's a lawyer,
yeah, exactly,
and that's his job. Like that's a job, especially if we're questioning his integrity and his you know, work and his career and his office and his position and his competency, you know, like this is personal. And so
yeah,
I don't want to slander anyone. I don't want to say, like, okay, yeah, in my opinion, is he mean? Is he an ass? Yeah, that's my opinion. Like, okay, I judged him based on whatever bias I have. But when it
right,
comes to like accusing him of doing something, I can't say 100%, you know, because I know that he's not going to be dumb enough to leave anything out there for us to find on YouTube. Like, you know what I mean?
yeah, no, and that's why they say it's difficult to you can't. That's why he's untouchable, because you know, you can't. It's
Well,
hard to prove prosecutorial misconduct. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
it's very very rare, I guess, supposedly that people have been able to prove that. So that's why they almost say that, you know, these DAs and stuff are untouchable. So
But
I
and
don't know.
that's the thing. I don't know. I don't think anyone is untouchable.
True.
You know, so if it depends again how you want to be heard. Like, what is the ultimate goal? And that's what you work from that point on. Because if you are constantly just proving that there's more to this, there's more to this, but we're not getting anywhere,
No,
you know,
exactly.
so it's like a rat in a cage kind of thing. It's like a hamster on a wheel. So there has to be a purpose. And like I said, I know mine is like, I want those records, and either I'm going to do like a really long public apology, or I'm going to be penning a petition to the governor of Colorado to, you know,
Right. And yeah,
investigate.
and that's what I found out too, is that, I mean, you can, I've been trying to tell people that you can report or complain about Rourke, you know, to, I can't remember what it's called now, of course, but to whoever you complain about attorneys, you know,
The
whatever.
general attorney, or whatever they're called.
What is it called? I can't remember. But it just Google, you
Mm-hmm.
know, how to complain about a prosecutor or whatever, and it'll pop up and it'll say Colorado. Like, but the problem with that is it's not. It's not anonymous. So you can't just, you know, call in and say, I want to complain about this. Like they actually, so there's bad things about it and there's good things. So, you know, so for instance, like if you write, we could write thousands and thousands of letters complaining to them, right? But they could just throw them in the trash. Or we can send email after email and they could just delete, you know? So the good thing about it is that you actually have to call and report it. So, I mean, if we had as many people that say they want justice and whatever, like, you know, I don't know how many people there are, I'm sure there's a ton that really want it. If they all called in and bombarded with phone calls, can you imagine? Like that, to me, that would be like a first step to trying to make an impact on or doing something or then a step forward. But so like I said, the bad thing is that it's not anonymous, but the good thing is that they can't ignore phone calls.
I'm sorry, this
so, like,
ice cream truck is rudely interrupted. So.
Ice cream. You should get some of those candy cigarettes.
Yeah,
do they still have those?
He totally passed by me without stopping. So.
Oh, they like go super fast. I'm like, by the time I grab my money, you're gonna be gone.
Oh my
God!
God.
Slow down.
Angelina said booty cam. It's our booty cams public record. Does anyone know? Asking for a friend. But Megan, with the Rourke thing, you said, you know, are you thinking of the bar association, maybe, like the licensing board? Because
let me look it up real quick.
Well, either way, you know, whatever, if you're not comfortable with providing your information, that's the whole, you know, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, if there's a group of other people who are interested, I'm sure, you know, someone wouldn't mind putting their name on it.
Right.
You know, because I'm putting my name on and my address and everything else on this request for the Frederick Files. Like,
yeah, and that's why I actually haven't done it, because I'm just like, but I don't know. I'm weird about that.
And that's understandable. Totally. That's totally understandable.
You don't have to put your address, do you? Your home address? I know your name and your email, but I didn't think you had to put your actual address. Not that they couldn't find out, but
there was a space for where. Am I in a twilight zone? Because I hear this truck approaching again. Didn't it pass by? Oh my God, it's getting louder.
Oh my God, that's super loud.
If he stops like right here, I'm gonna lose it.
Sabotage.
This is so creepy. It's like the sun is down. There's no one out. It's just this creepy ice cream truck circling around the neighborhood.
I was gonna say, is he in a white van?
Yes.
Not a truck. Really have a truck. Right?
Not suspicious at all.
Yeah, not at all.
But
it doesn't even have ice cream in it. No.
I know, right? It's like, what are you really trying to sell? Do you got some of those Frederick Files?
Right.
Are you serving some of those Frederick Files?
I'm willing to pay you for them.
Yes.
He's like, oh, actually, I do. Now that you ask, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Here you go, ma'am. Whoa, that was easy.
But yeah, so that's what, like, just if that's your goal, if you want to, if your goal is Rourke, like my gut is telling me I need to investigate him, and that's where you go with it, you know, and there are going to be people, like, I know for sure that I would want to have him looked into, you know, and there will be people who'll say, like, look, I'll put in the complaint in the name in all of our names, because I think you can do that.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's something to look into. I'm pretty sure I've seen before where, you know, like a group of people will, like, kind of like a class action, but like smaller. I don't know. Yeah, so my brain is fried.
I know, mine too. But no, I've tried. Rourke, he's a hard one to find information on. I mean, I've searched. Like those 2 videos I made on him about when he appeared on those Dateline, you know, Dateline NBC or whatever, they about different cases. I mean, I had to search for those. So you would think that, you know, after I got past all the Watt stuff, when I Googled his name, or I hate saying Google, when I search his name, I don't like to give him credit. When I search his name, you think that eventually I would you know, come across those, but you don't. And especially since he was on a show like Dateline, you know, like a mainstream show. So it's like, I've tried researching him and I've tried looking into him, but that took me forever. And then, like you said, my brain was mush too. So I'm like, why is it so difficult to find any information on these people? Like,
but here's the thing: if you're really, really invested into getting that information, you can get it because there are laws. Like, no one is invincible. That's the point, you know, of us like living in a democracy. So you know, we are supposed to be able to question public service officials, government officials, especially elected officials, and the equivalent to a records request for Chris, you know, you can do the same for the prosecutor. Because you can request the records of any public official. So if you email, I don't know how that, like, you would have to look into this, but if whoever does the records, like, you can ask for, you know, can I have copies of Rourke's emails from August 1st to August 30th, 2018?
right. Yeah,
And
no,
do you
totally.
get that? You know, so.
And yeah, and you mentioned the bar, and I did look up his bar history. And of course, it's spotless.
Clean. Yeah, I looked into that too.
So I
It's
figured
clean.
that, but I still had to check.
Yeah, but he did have a DUI very early on. I think in 2006 or 2007, he was arrested for a DUI.
Oh, and that
So
it's called
you know, nobody's perfect, I guess.
No, yeah, of course not. No. And the thing is, like you said earlier, we're not. I think I personally am not out to try to just like discredit him or whatever. But like we deserve. We all know, like all of us can't be wrong that it's something doesn't add up. You know. So, and to me, it's important to me to get to the truth because we deserve to know the truth as the public. So, and like you said, it's not about, you know, we all have our different reasons for doing it, and I have multiple reasons, you know, that's not just one reason, but I don't know. And then like the thing is about, you know, I think it's great that we're all can get together and, you know, and have our theories and speculate, but I mean, it's over 2 years now and we are
exactly
in the same spot. We just keep doing circles, you know, so, and I try not to, in my videos, talk about the same things over and over again, but I mean, it's still important to bring them up. But we already know all that. So like you said, we need to find, you know, some new facts and new information that's going to do something, you know? So.
And that's the thing. There's people who discuss, and that's something that we can do like all day long, day and night. You know, we can talk about theory, speculations, of course. At this point, I feel like the discovery is like, now, let me get this straight. I'm not comparing the discovery to the Bible. I'm comparing how the Bible is interpreted in so many different ways. Literally, like, we can interpret the discovery in like so many different ways at this point, you know? And so we can continue doing that by all means. Or, you know, we can, those of us who are interested in more than just talking and like actually investigate, or like, you know, asking these questions and taking these steps, then we can have that platform available to those, you know.
Yeah, totally. And I haven't heard the whole Bible thing, so I'd love to hear all that. But
what do you mean?
I thought you said that there was comparisons with the
no
Bible
I was gonna
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. I thought you were saying that there was like references from
No.
Oh,
I was
sorry.
about to say, I was thinking like, you know how like different religions interpret the same Bible differently. It's like the same exact Bible, but everyone has their own like understanding of it. That's what I was saying. Like the
I gotcha.
discovery is like.
Okay, I was taking it conspiratorially. Sorry, that's my
Yeah.
mind going.
No,
Where it goes sometimes, but no, I totally get what you're saying now. Yeah, it's totally like that. But yeah, so
yeah. So I don't know.
but yeah, so I did find that real quick. It's called the Attorney Regulation Council.
Okay. Yeah, like their
Just so.
board, right? Like
But yeah, I think
whatever his licensing agency is,
whoever the who.
whoever his licensing board is in the state, like whoever is the professional licensing, whatever they're called. I don't know what they're called. My brain is fried at this point.
I gotcha.
Those are they're the ones who are maintaining his license, meaning, you know, and so if you think that there's misconduct, and that's a professional matter, then that would be the first place to go to, is to complain to the board, and then the board investigates it, and they come up with their own finding. And if they find him guilty, quote unquote, you know, then he can get like disciplined. He can have like whatever they impose, that he can have his license revoked. Like, I don't know. Depends. They're not like quick to take someone's license unless it's something serious. But even then, you would be surprised. For example, there was one particular medical profession person that I worked with in the past, and it had come to light that there were some questionable things going on with patients, blah, 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 and it was found to be true. Well, the disciplinary action was taking some classes, not practicing for a couple of months, and I think like one of the stipulations was, you know, cannot work with female patients anymore. And it's like, oh, great. You would think that would, you know, kind of be a big deal, but it depends. I get, again, it's just like you never know, because there's always loopholes, and that's what makes it so frustrating. And that's at the same time what also makes every other theory possible that we can't prove or disprove at this point. So
yeah, and then again, like you said earlier, you're complaining to the same people that are in his law group, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like they're all
his peers. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's almost like, well, okay, well then, so who do you go to, you know?
That doesn't mean anything. Like for psychologists, you know, we have our licensing board, which is part of like the state. But then you have like the American Psychological Association, and they're, you know, they kind of like make the guidelines and all of that stuff, you know, so they have their own, it's all peers, you know, it's all people from the same, but it doesn't mean anything. Like you would be surprised that you would think that all lawyers are kind of like looking out for each other, but that's not necessarily the case, because there's so much just differences in views and practices and interpretation. Like, I don't know, just like any regular job, like you have the people that you agree and disagree with, whatever. So I wouldn't dismiss just because it's a group of his peers, basically. They still have a role. I mean, they're you know, they're not gonna be like, oh, it's just my boy, you know, my homie.
My boy Rourke.
What's up?
Yeah, he's supposed to come to my barbecue tomorrow.
Right? No, I don't, you know, I don't think, yeah, I don't, again, it's like, would a state licensing board really do that? Like, what would be their motive? And I don't think anyone is special enough for someone to give up their entire, you know, like career.
Right. But I did see on here, I didn't realize that I guess you can, if you didn't want to call, you could file a form online. Because when you call, they actually will ask you like a series of questions. So to me, it seems like a little bit more legitimate than, you know, than just, you know, just complaining in just a letter or something, you know. So it seems like it would be, from what I've read about it so far is that it seems like it would be pretty professional.
Yeah.
I guess you would say. So I guess if people didn't want to call in and feel comfortable calling in, they could, I mean, at least check out the forum and see what it's about. I mean, if people really want something done, then do it, you know? I mean,
exactly.
And then, you know, just because talking about it is not going to do anything. Either that or someone in Colorado needs, like I said, to go up to work and put a camera in his face and just start spewing out questions. So he doesn't have time to think because, you know, like you said, he has an answer for everything. You know, you got to just, so why did you do this? And and then that's when he'll probably get like busted and be like,
and
you can't give him any time to think. That's for sure.
Right. And that's, oh man, that's exactly what I was like talking about earlier in terms of like all of us kind of not fighting with each other, but like being able to recognize whether or not we're working towards the same goal. Like our goals, like end goals, the same. And so there's so much that we can all kind of do, regardless of what theory or thought or whatever you subscribe to, that we can all benefit from, because research should not be biased. Like facts should not be biased, right? Because it's like you should be able to reference exactly where, and everyone should be on the same page. Everyone should know exactly what you're saying. So that kind of stuff, like, you know, everybody's doing hard work to prove their theories. Everybody's doing hours upon hours of research, but it's all going nowhere. And so I feel like we're 2 years in and we're still talking about the same things over and over again from different perspectives. Then we argue about who stole it from who. And then we argue about whose idea it was for, you know, and I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
And so I don't, like, that's the thing. Like, I do not care about personalities, and I do not care about drama, and I do not care about any of that stuff. Like, it's literally just information, data. That's it. And if you're going after Rourke, cool. Here's what I have. If anything helps you, go for it. If it doesn't, you know, whatever. But that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, that's,
my brain is gone. It's, yeah. So here's my fantasy. And it's, you know, PG-13 or whatever, I don't know. But kind of like the don't F with cats kind of thing. They were able to move past the drama and weed through the people who are serious about what they, you know, about the research that they want to do and what they want to do with it, versus people who just want to discuss, which again is not wrong. We can do that, you know, we can have a platform where we can just bullshit and talk and do all of that and gossip and whatever, you know, but the research part should be separate, in my opinion. Are you there, Megan? Oh, I'm like talking to Megan. I'm talking to myself. Oh man.
hello?
Oh, there you are.
I was like, I didn't press mute.
Oh, I thought we lost you. But yeah.
But no, I agree. And I think that the whole, you know, if you're biased, I think that's what drives a lot of the fighting, you know, because you have the pro Shanann and then, you know, pro Watts or pro Ruseck or whatever, you know, that's, I think has a lot to do with the fighting and the arguing and why it goes nowhere. So,
and that's, you know, that's fine too, I guess. That you can have your clicks too, because I don't want to, you know, I don't want to like disrupt anyone's life. Like, right?
I don't, totally.
I'm simply here like trying to offer a platform for people who are actually interested in the research minus the drama, and they're serious about like wanting to research, or even if they're not interested in research, they just want somewhere where they can go and know, okay, like this information here is credible, you know, that's it. Like, I don't care about anything else. And just getting to that goal of finding the truth in this case and getting justice, not only for the victims, you know, but the families and all of us and all of the stress and everything that, I don't know, like this case is just ridiculous. And so there's just so much pain that continues to breathe every single day. And the more we fight, the stronger that pulse is of that pain with these with the families and everybody.
Mhm.
You know, and it's like at this point it's become a circus. And that's the kind of stuff that I'm not interested in. I'm not interested in people's opinions about whether or not they think that Chris's mother is a narcissist.
Right.
That's, you know, whatever. And even that is debatable. We can debate, okay? But let's talk about it. But I will not tolerate name calling of anybody.
Yeah, that's
I
not
don't
cool.
care about personal opinions about what name you think this person is. Like, no, that's abuse. And I don't know.
Yeah, that's definitely not true crime. That's for sure.
But yeah.
But yeah, no, yeah, we're like you said, that everyone if should be have the same goal in the end, and that's getting to the truth. So that's
Yeah.
what people need to try to remember. So,
And I also would urge people to ask themselves what they consider the truth, because again, there's not one truth. So all of us, for me, the truth is, was someone else involved? And if I can find out for sure whether or not someone else was involved, that's my truth. But someone else's truth is, or question, you know, is Chris innocent? Or someone else's truth might be, well, I want to find out if Shanann did it. And so on and so forth. So again, you know, it's like, yes, we all want the truth, a truth, but what part of the truth do we want?
right. Yeah, no, I agree totally. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been doing pretty good to lay low with
Yeah.
my small little channel. So
Well,
I think
but that's, and see, no, I mean, I'm there anytime I can make it. And that's why I've been saying to you forever that we should do a live. I'm so happy that you came on.
yeah, me too. It
We
was
should
good.
do it. We should, and we will do it more often for sure. But yeah, it's approaching the 3-hour mark. I can't
Yeah,
believe
totally.
that I've
Yeah,
been.
we'll do one on we'll stick to the facts next time.
No, I
So.
mean, yeah, discussion is everything. And I'm gonna try to figure out this Discord stuff. And so hopefully, like next time we do a live or whatever, like I'll have.
Yeah, if you have something that you want me to like look up, then I'm more than happy to. But if I don't have some sort of like something to specifically look at, I'll just be all over the place.
Oh, well,
Like I
that's
don't even know where to start, So
exactly. That's exactly how I am, which is exactly why we're doing this. Like, we're just going to talk. Like, it's not, anything. We can have these discussions. And as we get to know each other, I think we can learn what each of us has a passion for. Like, what about this case is, so fascinating to you? And so just I've been on my own too. Like, the most people I've been around are like the mods that I have in my chat, and sometimes like I'm like wild in there and I'm like, I don't know how to behave around people anymore. So
yeah,
if I'm acting out of line, don't mind me. But
right.
it's difficult, to try to organize anything because no one is, it's like you don't even know where to begin. And that's the thing. And I think if we can just kind of have like a group talk where we can just all talk without committing to YouTube or anything, I think as we get to know each other, we'll learn like each other's like qualities, and it'll, I think, kind of like happen naturally.
Yeah, totally. I agree.
So
Yeah, and I'll check out the Discord thing too, because I meant to do that. I just haven't had it. I had to delete. I had to delete all this. Not delete, but I mean, I had to clean out my phone and transfer stuff over to my
yeah.
computer and stuff because when they sent me the link in the other live for the Discord, I didn't have enough room on my phone. It was like 500 megabytes left, and I'm like, oh my god, this case is like loading my phone up. I gotta get a bigger
Tell me
memory
about
card.
it.
It's a great.
Tell
I have
me
like
about
so many screenshots.
Yeah.
Like I won't even let anybody look at my pictures because they'll be like, "What the hell is this?" You know.
You know, I'm paranoid, right? And so I'm always thinking, this is now my personal, this is my personal thing. But I'm paranoid, which is why I'm always like looking to answer questions. I think like a trait of my personality, or I'm not saying that I'm like a paranoid schizophrenic, right? I'm saying that like that's a trait that I have is I tend to question things all the time, and sometimes just for no goddamn reason at all.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, people need to question stuff. You know, it's
Yeah.
important. So
I
does it make you?
I made a Discord. We made a Discord because we've been talking about it for months now, and I was able to come up with a handle for myself, and I'm pretty sure it's NK the Second. So that's the name that I have on there. Because again,
So I mean, you have it. Do you have the Discord all like? I mean, set up? Like I said, I don't know anything about it. I haven't had a chance to look in it. So look at it.
I will set up. I think I have to set up a room or whatever channel for it, and then I would send out the link, or I would put up the link, and that's how you join. Is the link would take you to that. It's like an invite, right? And so you get invited to the group basically, and that's it.
Yeah, that was my next question. So have you had a link yet? So yeah, so just let me know whenever, and that'll be cool. Totally.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, thank you. I'm glad we did this.
Thank you. Me too. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
All right, and thank you to everyone else. Thank you, mods, for helping out tonight. Thank you all for listening to me, and I don't know what else.
Our ramblings.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. Subscribe, all of that fun stuff. But yeah, good night from us, and thank you.
Bye.
Bye.